Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Elite Expert Insider Podcast. Hosts Melanie Johnson and Jen Foster are the owners of Elite Online Publishing. They're both Wall Street Journal, USA Today best-selling authors. We're really glad you're here because this podcast was designed for you. Meet industry experts that share their secrets and strategies. Get successful results for your business in money, relationships, health, and your life. Each episode is going to inspire you to take action towards reaching your greatness.
Hey everyone, welcome to our show. Glad to have you here. Hope you're having a super great day. I'm here with Jen Foster, my business partner at Elite Online Publishing. Hey Jen, how you doing?
Doing great. How's everyone doing today?
I don't know about you, but I'm having a fantastic day today. And yet one of my favorite marketing tools is LinkedIn. And we have an expert with us today that's just going to blow it out of the water. But first, remember to subscribe to our podcast. We love having you guys here. Share it with your friends. Hit that subscribe button. So you know what? I was really into LinkedIn probably a couple years ago and was using it like crazy. Really tried to get more people in my network. I'm up to, I think, 15,000 now, which I thought was a good number, which probably isn't that impressive to some other people. But, and we even have gotten clients from LinkedIn. So I just know that it's such a great tool, but it has changed so much. And so we wanted to bring someone on that was an expert that could get us up to date, what's working, what's not working. If you're not using it, you should be using it. That's all I can say, whether you say you're B2B or you're customer to customer. Okay, I'm going to be quiet now. And I'm going to introduce our guest. Her name is Donna Serdula, and she has written a bunch of books. And she is an expert and she does this for a living. Donna, thanks for coming today.
Melanie, thank you so much for having me.
Well, Donna, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into LinkedIn and writing all these amazing books.
Sure. So, I started my business in 2009. I had just come out of a corporate sales business development position. And it was back then that I realized just the importance of LinkedIn and what the possibilities were available. Looking at LinkedIn, it was a CRM, it was a reputation management engine. I mean, there was so much to it. And I realized, back then it was, quite some time ago now, but I saw so much potential. So in 2009, I started my company. Back then it was just me. And I was writing LinkedIn profiles for professionals and executives and entrepreneurs. It was a few years later that I realized with the book and all of the other things that were happening, I needed more people. So now I have a stable of writers. We have over 20 writers on our team. We've written over 6,000 LinkedIn profiles. And in addition to my writing, I speak on LinkedIn. It's a passion of mine. And I really want to help people understand that this is a place to tell your story. It's a place to find opportunities. It's a place to grow. It's a place to help others. So that's what I do.
Well, let's dive into it. There's so many different aspects of LinkedIn. Let's start with, and I'm going to pick on my nephew here because I've been telling him he needs to clean up his LinkedIn for a long time. He has the famous gray banner with nothing on it, right? And then he does have his title underneath there, but he has no description whatsoever. But he's like, hey, Aunt Melanie, it's B2B mostly. I don't think I really need it. But I'm like, it's your footprint online. People are going to look at you or look up and, they might know something about you, but if they know nothing about you, they could gain so much more. So let's start with what should be in the banner and what should be in the headline. What are some of your tips on that?
Sure. So if you're listening to this podcast, pull up your LinkedIn profile. You can do it on your phone. And if you look at your profile, you'll see it looks kind of greenish gray. It's kind of stripy. That means that you've got the default background image. And this is the place where you really want to illustrate your brand. And really think in terms of how can you show what you do in a very deliberate way, but also a rather subtle way. So it could be if you're an author, you can have images of your books. If you're an expert, you can really think about how you help people. And do you have an image that really showcases that? You could also go a little bit, more subtle than that, and think in terms of, maybe you like to do insurmountable tasks. So maybe find a picture of a mountain climber. So, really start to think, how can I illustrate what I do? When a person looks, they don't even have to read anything. They kind of just know what it is. So that's the way to look at the background image. The headline is so important, Jen. It's so important, Melanie. And it's an area that a lot of people ignore. And if you look at the LinkedIn profile and you look at that field, there's nothing there that like acts as a beacon or a spotlight that says, this is one of the most important fields on LinkedIn. But it is an important part. It feeds the search algorithm. So if a person is searching for someone like you, the more words, the more keywords you have in your headline, the better your profile is going to do. And that headline follows you. So if you're commenting, if you're posting, if you're recommending people, if you're messaging, that headline is there right next to your picture, right next to your name. And so what I suggest is, one, think about something that's engaging, that's going to attract a person's eye, that's infused with the right keywords. You have 220 characters. That's it, 220 characters. And it's really hard. What I did is on my website, if you click under free resources, I actually hired a developer to create a LinkedIn headline generator for me.
Oh, awesome.
And it's a free tool. And you just go in and you can click. You just fill out a couple. It's almost like, do you guys remember the old kids game Mad Libs?
Mm-hmm. I love that game.
Yeah, it's very similar. You just sort of fill in a couple nouns, fill in a couple verbs, a couple adjectives, and it spits out a really attractive, really high level, really professional and optimized headline. And you can copy it, paste it directly into your profile, and boom, you're ready to go. You're going to end up higher in the search. You're going to get more hits, and with more hits comes more opportunity.
That's awesome. I love that you have that tool, because a lot of times, like, you'll see someone's profile and it'll just say, CPA or real estate investor or whatever they think is their headline, but that's just their job or their career or their title. It's not a headline. So I like that you explained it in that keyword loaded headline, because we have to remember everything online is searching, right? It's a search engine. So if you don't have keywords, or if you don't have that compelling headline, then people aren't going to find you, whether they're looking for you to hire or looking for you for business to business.
And there's also a fine line, right? Because there's a lot of people out there who like to make really grandiose promises in the headline, like, I will get you $5 million new leads. And so you have to also balance it, right? You don't want to be too salesy. You really want to come across as someone who has credibility, someone who cares, someone who is who they say they are, that type of thing. It's just, you have to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Let's jump into the description. And the other thing I want to make note of, like we were talking about your Amazon author page earlier, and we notice that Amazon and LinkedIn populate almost always at the top, like the first page of search.
The top
LinkedIn,
of Google
I
search,
think, is even more powerful than Amazon, I want to say. Like when I'm searching someone, LinkedIn's always in the top 5 for somebody. So I think that's so important. I mean, it's an SEO tool that people don't think about. So let's go into, so we've got the banner, we've got the headline. Now let's go into the bulk and the description. What do you suggest there? Sometimes I see people, they're just giving their bio and it's kind of boring. Some people are really salesy and it seems like a little too much. So what is that balance there? What kind of content should we be putting in there?
The about section is where you want to tell your story. You want to introduce yourself. You want to give an idea of who you are and what you do. You want to talk about what you stand for and what it is that you're doing on LinkedIn. What are you trying to accomplish? How can you help others? What differentiates you? All of these things come together to form a really strong narrative. I say write it in first person. Claim claim that message as hard as it is, because even for writers, it's hard to write about yourself. It's just something that no one wants to do. And every odious task in the world is more attractive than sitting down and writing about yourself. But, write it in first person and tell that story. Write it conversationally, write it with a warmth and maybe even a little humor. But don't copy and paste an old bio. Don't copy and paste the about section from your website. Don't copy and paste an old, dry, dull, out-of-date resume from 10 years ago. Really sit down and create something unique, something strategic. And when I say strategic, think about your target audience. Think about what they want to know about you. Think about what you want them to know about you as well. So what do they want to know? And what do you want them to know? This is important stuff.
Should it be more like we were advised recently that it should be like, this is the problem that you're struggling with, more almost like this, and this is the services that we're doing to help you to come in there. So it was more about really to help them like find, hey, this is the problem. It's more about the company than yourself. So you're saying more a combination of those two things.
You know what? People are coming to LinkedIn because, they know about your company, most likely. They've probably already visited the website. People are very good at educating themselves. By the time they get to LinkedIn, more often than not, they want to know who they're working with. And is that person who they say they are? They want to have a warmth. They want to have like a little keyhole into your soul and they want to feel good. And if all you give them is your company information,
that's a little cold.
It's a little cold, isn't it?
So would you say then like you should put personal things like if you love dogs, or is that too much? Like where do you cross the line of like too much information? Because some of them, I think when I read a certain profile, I'm like, I didn't need to know that, So.
It depends upon your brand. And it depends upon your target audience.
Your service. Yeah.
Yeah. There are some people who talk about their kids and their dogs and, how they love to go cycling, and it works for them. Other times people do that and it's flaky as all get out. I think there's a balance, and I think it really depends upon, what your message is, who your audience is. And sometimes, when something potentially flaky comes across as really natural and organic and authentic, chances are they hired a professional writer to get it right, to get the nuance correct. So it really depends. I'm not going to say, Jen, that it's always wrong or it's always right. It really, really depends.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, and Donna, you wrote the book on it for Dummies. So us dummies, LinkedIn profile optimization for dummies. I think that's great that you wrote that, because we do need that insight to know where to cross the line and where not to, and how much information to give. And I mean, a lot of times most people aren't giving enough information, but it's good. But
it's just as easy to go the opposite direction and give too much.
Yeah. So where do you cross the line then on, your services and what you offer, and like trying to solve that problem for them, or saying that where it's not too pushy? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think in some ways it has a lot to do with the fact that there's like a little over 2,000 characters for the about section. That's not a lot. And there's 2,000 characters for the company page and for the experiences. So we don't have a lot of room to really write a huge autobiography. So we do have to be succinct. And we also have to recognize that, in today's day and age, people are easily distracted. But with that said, the more we write, the more chance we have of using these keywords. The more keywords we use, the better we're going to do in search. So you're right. There is this balance that we need to strike. I think for, the people listening, really think in terms of your target audience, think in terms of your message, think in terms of your broader digital footprint. Can they find this information on Amazon? Can they find this information on LinkedIn? Or can they find it on your website? Do you really want them to learn so much, or do you want them to get on the phone and call you? Really, is it maybe putting in a calendar link and saying, let's talk more? It also is a longer term type of commitment, because it's not just your profile, it's your updates, it's your posts, it's how you're interacting with people. And a person who is really interested in you is going to keep coming back and keep hitting it a little bit and a little bit until they really finally feel like they've had enough touches. They like what they see, they feel good, and now they're ready.
So you touched on the post a little bit. Let's dive into that. So many different things. How long should they be? Should it be a question? Should it be an article? What should we be posting? How should we be interacting? Talk about the basics. It's like, all right, now this is the confusing part to a lot of people. And the algorithms have changed what LinkedIn is liking and not liking these days. So what's the latest?
The latest algorithm. All right. Brace yourself, lady. It's going to get good. Dwell time is still very important to LinkedIn. And I think in some ways we have to say, what is it that LinkedIn wants? What does LinkedIn want? LinkedIn wants people to stay on that feed. They want them to keep scrolling through. They don't want people moving out to different areas, visiting articles, moving off LinkedIn. All right. So we know that. We also know that LinkedIn has stated that they want that LinkedIn feed to be people talking about the things that you care about. All right. So thinking in those terms, this gives us a really good idea of what performs well on LinkedIn. So we know that they want people to stay. They want to know that this information is relevant, that it's interesting. So anything that keeps a person kind of hovering over your post for a little bit longer than just like a scroll. So if you can do an extended post that produces a show more link and a person clicks that show more, boom, that quantifiably conveys that people are interested. All right. So that's huge. If you can get a person to like or comment on the post, again, that's another really good sign that this is engaging content. LinkedIn wants engaging content. If you post a link to an article, those posts don't tend to do as well. They do good. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with doing it. I'm not going to tell you not to. But if that's all you do, you're going to find that you're not getting as much traction, because LinkedIn's like, why am I sending people somewhere else? I want them to stay here. That's why you'll see people say, oh, this is a great article. Link is in the first comment. Keeps people there on LinkedIn. And then after 24 hours, a person typically will come in there, edit it, and put the link where it belongs. Because after 24 hours, it's sort of, it's run through the wave of the algorithm.
That makes sense. So what about LinkedIn articles? Is that something you should do? And what is address that issue? Because a lot of people don't know even what a LinkedIn article is.
Yeah. So in addition to posting on LinkedIn, just like a simple update, you can also create an article. Now, the article itself it actually fits like within the LinkedIn profile. And then when you do post it, you're posting a link to the article. So it's not like the article is itself a post. The post is a link to the article. I hope that makes sense. It's a little kooky, but I will say when they first brought out the LinkedIn publishing platform, oh my goodness gracious, it was gold. I mean, you would go in there, you would write an article and you'd get 50,000 views in an hour. It was an amazing, amazing thing. Of late, they don't perform as well. They just don't perform as well. Now, the nice thing though about the articles is they're evergreen. So it's something that you can put some time in. You can craft a really interesting article, especially if you don't have a blog, or a Medium account, or, wherever else people are posting. So you could use LinkedIn in that manner. And then what you can do is you can keep linking back to that article. So you're not going to get a lot of hits at first, but over a 6-month period, if every other week or once a month you link back to it with maybe a little bit more context, a little bit more, interesting, tidbits, over a longer period of time, you'll see some really nice numbers.
That makes sense. So would you suggest, if they do have a blog, is it okay to post the exact same thing that you posted on your blog on LinkedIn articles, or is that like a not good thing to do?
I've never been able to truly figure out if Google dings it as redundant.
Right.
I've heard many people say totally conflicting things about it.
Yeah.
And I have done it and I haven't done it, and I haven't really seen that it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's horrible, but at the
Right.
same time, what you could do is this. And I've seen this, I've done this myself. I've advised other people to do it. If you're going to write a blog on your own website and you create that article there, you can always go back to LinkedIn and create a mini article
Mm-hmm.
and then have a link that says to read the full article, visit my website.
Mm-hmm.
You're just giving them a taste of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that way we're not even worried about the redundant, aspect of, the Google and how it would, potentially, ding you. We can call it ding. That's the official term. But, it also gets people to visit your website, which is, where you can give more information and really delve in deeper and provide them with so much more information than you can on LinkedIn.
Yeah, well, that's a really good tip. I like that. I'm going to try that. And even for press releases, right? Or that type of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that's really important with LinkedIn is the hashtags. And I think a lot of people either don't use them or they use them in a very almost ad hoc type of way where they're like, oh, I just wrote a post. Let me slam 30 hashtags in here. And within the LinkedIn realm, the way the algorithm works right now, 3 to 5 hashtags perform best. If you do 30, it's not going to help you. If you just do one, it's not going to help you. So really concentrate within 3 to 5, 3 being what LinkedIn has stated is their ideal. So somewhere between 3 to 5. With LinkedIn, it's quite a bit different than the other social networks. What I've found is the broader, the more general the hashtag, the better it does, the more followers it has. And so I remember when they first debuted the hashtags, I thought to myself, oh, marketing tips, hashtag marketing tips. That's me. I'm going to do marketing tips. And I one day I thought, let me see how many followers marketing tips has. It's like 5,000, which is not bad. But I thought, let me try marketing, like 5 million followers. So, research the hashtags ahead of time, kind of know what that sandbox looks like. Like I do innovation, I do leadership, I do personal branding. Like those are my 3. Figure out what your hashtags are, but also be strategic, because, you guys might be thinking, oh, publishing, but maybe it's just other publishers that are following publishing.
That's so true.
Yeah. So really think in terms of your target audience. Now, I'm not in any way saying that you should be spamming these hashtags with content that is, conflicting with it. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, like, really think in terms of what that post is about and, what would be the correct keywords or hashtags that you could use to index that content so the right people find it.
Mm-hmm. I like how you said the word index, because I think thinking of it in those terms, it's like, what word do people look up that I want them to find my post, right? It's like, because that's really what you're doing is indexing your posts.
So
it is true.
Talk about the comments. Let's go into, like, I've heard some people saying, well, to really get momentum, like you can't just put stuff out there. You really need to be active in commenting on other people's posts. And I've heard this term of like poaching other people's posts. You're like, oh, this is like a high level person. This is my demographic. And so the people following them would also be my niche demographic. And so I should be connecting with them or messaging them on, commenting on their post as well. What do you think about that?
So when we go back to what I had said earlier about LinkedIn wants that LinkedIn feed to be people talking about the things that you care about, the things that you care about, consider hashtags. And that, if you follow those hashtags, a person's posting with those hashtags, there's a really good chance that you're going to collide with that post because LinkedIn knows that it's relevant to you. Right. People that right? So how does LinkedIn know who you know? Well, one, through those connections, right? That you connected with them, but also because when you're on that LinkedIn feed, LinkedIn is showing you the posts of people that you've recently, engaged with on LinkedIn. So you do want to consider, don't just worry about being that creator of content. Yes, you want to create, but within the LinkedIn world, if you post on a Monday, that post can live Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It could keep popping up on people's feeds for a full week and a half if it's really elegant and engaging and people are interacting with it. So with LinkedIn, and I'm not talking about like high-level influencers who are really cranking out content, I'm talking about, entrepreneurs, these, sole proprietors, people who are experts, but they're working hard. Don't worry about creating content every day. It's not possible. And you don't have to, don't feel intimidated here. If you can create content once a week and post something really great once a week on LinkedIn, that's fabulous. If you could do it once every 2 weeks, even better, maybe not even better, but good enough. Yeah. So don't get too caught up like, oh, I'm going to be a failure. I'm not even going to do it because I can't do it 5 times a day. Mm-hmm. Post once a week. Challenge yourself to post once a week. Challenge yourself to post once every 2 weeks. But in the time that you're not, go in there and engage with other people. Scroll through that LinkedIn feed and comment on 3 or maybe 5 posts. And don't just say, good job. Mm-hmm. Actually write something that shows that you did read what they said and you have something thoughtful to contribute. And if you don't have anything thoughtful to contribute, next post. It's okay. It's all right. But engage. What you're going to find is by doing that, not only is this totally doable, right? It's what I'm saying is totally doable. It's also going to allow you to be networking, getting seen, forging a relationship. And you're also giving LinkedIn what it wants, which is to know who you know. So they're more apt to see your posts. And when you do post, these people are going to see it. And because you've been interacting with them, they're going to interact with you. Mm-hmm. Immediate success.
I have one other question is we have like kind of a conflict between companies. So a lot of people have a company, right? And then they have their personal LinkedIn. So what do we do differently between your personal LinkedIn and your company LinkedIn?
That is a wonderful question, Melanie. And, I look at this as the company should definitely be about the company. And this kind of goes back to our earlier part of the conversation. I was like, don't make the profile all about the company. A person is going there to see you, to learn about you, talk about yourself, don't be shy, open up. And so, when you look at your company page and you look at your profile, you do have to have almost like you've got to have a hard look and say, okay, I've got 15,000 connections, Melanie. That's what you just told me. 15,000 connections. How many followers do you have on that company page? 500? Mm-hmm. Which one's going to give you the bigger bang for your buck? Right? Maybe you're going to have to really work hard to build those followers, but you might also have to pump in some sponsored ads and some advertising to really make all of that effort worth your while on the company page. So it is a balancing act. And in some ways you've got to really think, what's going to benefit me the most? What's going to get me the most eyeballs? In a lot of situations, it is the profile. Just naturally, it's the profile. With that said, it doesn't mean that you totally ignore the company page, but, maybe the company page, sends out, a post a week, and then maybe you share that post on your profile, but then maybe you create some other additional content that's your own that also, and you can always, if you wanted to, mention your company in the update. That's a good way of, bringing it back around, or maybe create your own company hashtag that you're using on your own posts.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. You have so much great information, Donna. I think we're out of time, but if you want to tell people where they can go to get more of your information and to get some links maybe to your books.
Sure. So my website is linkedin-makeover.com. That's where we help people write their LinkedIn profiles, really understand how to utilize LinkedIn in the most effective, efficient manner possible. So definitely visit linkedin-makeover.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. And I would love if you hit the follow button. And I'd even love it even more if you hit the little star next to the follow button, because that means that you'll then get notified of all the posts that I'm putting out there. And I really do try hard to educate people on LinkedIn with lots of tips and tricks and free tools. But definitely check me out on Amazon, and you can see my For Dummies books and do a lot. I really talk a lot about LinkedIn, but I really do think it's just a fabulous tool.
I love it. So dive into that and you're going to see your business change. I want to say I guarantee it, but you have to be active and take the advice. And I think you will see an increase in your business when you do that. So, and remember, if you're thinking about writing a book, Donna's written so many books, please contact us at eliteonlinepublishing.com. We make all of our authors #1 bestsellers. Not everyone is qualified to work with us, but hit that submission button and take a look and someone will reach out to you and see if we're a good fit for each other. So until next time, remember to subscribe. And remember, we're always here to inspire, motivate, and educate you. Have a fantastic week.
Bye.
Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.